Hello and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for coming. It's Lyndon here. Whoops, bash my sax. It's Lyndon here, and in this video I want to answer a question mainly for my clients who come here, and especially people that come for the first time. And the question is, where do I get a sax, and how do I go about getting one? So if you're someone that's already got a beautiful sax that you've had for years and you're very happy with it, then maybe this isn't the most interesting video for you, because I'm going to talk through the options of where to get a sax and how to get one and what the different options are, including at the end talk about the saxophones that I bring in myself to the UK under my own brand, which are called Goldington Saxophones. So there's a bit of an advert for my own saxophones at the end, but I want to discuss all of the possibilities so I can say to my clients, go and watch this video, all your questions will be answered. So where do you get a sax if you don't have one? Well, it's a really good question, and in this day and age you can buy a sax really cheaply on Amazon, or you could get a second-hand one from eBay. You could get a second-hand one from a private dealer. There's Facebook Marketplace. There's saxophones everywhere for you to buy, and they start on the cheapest ones on Amazon for maybe £200 or something, or around that mark. There's even a big wholesaler in this country called Costco who, like, you know, sell stock to newsagents, and even they had their own brand of saxophones. Absolutely unbelievable. So you can get saxophones everywhere, and it's bewildering as to what to choose and how to know what is a good saxophone to buy. So and actually you don't even have to buy a saxophone, you can also rent them, and I think this is a really good option if you've never had one and you're not 100% sure, because saxophones can be quite expensive. And one of the things that stops people from playing is that they might say something like, I've had this said to me so many times, you know, I don't know, you know, if I give up after 3 months or 4 months, then, you know, I've spent, it's a lot of money to spend. And that's absolutely, I can completely understand that. It's very true. Saxophones are expensive. So I think your best option is to go to your local music shop and ask if they have one for rent. Most music shops will do, and usually the story is that you put a fairly substantial amount of money. I think in this country it's about £200 down as a deposit, and then you pay for 3 months rental up front, and usually the rental is about between, depending on what type of sax you get, around £20 or something in that region per month. So you're going to have to pay out about £260, and for that they'll give you a rental saxophone, and at the end of the 3 months you can take it back to the shop and they'll give you the option to buy it. And if you want to buy it, usually they'll take off the amount of money that you've paid as rental, they'll deduct that and you just pay the balance, and then you've got a sax. Usually when shops do this, they rent out their asking price is a little bit higher because they've got to make money. So you probably could buy that saxophone somewhere else slightly cheaper, but you know, you've rented it out, you're used to the instrument, and if anything ever goes wrong, you can always take it back to the music shop. So I think that's a really good option. Or you can buy one, because why play a saxophone for 3 months when you can play one for 3 years or 6 years or something? Of course you don't want to ever stop playing the saxophone. So if you're going to buy one, I would avoid buying the cheapest one possible, because the really cheap ones, they're not very good quality, and what that means in real terms is that they're going to be quite hard to play, and they might be okay to get you going, but I wouldn't if you had a choice. And for a little bit more money, so you're looking at Amazon for like £250. For £500 you could get something that would last a really long time and be very good and have a resale value as well if you ever decide to sell it or part exchange it when you upgrade. So really good, so saxophones that I think that you should buy are Yamaha brand. Is a really good brand. Trevor James seems to be quite good as well, and the Jupiter brand is not a bad saxophone to get. I would avoid the cheap Chinese ones really at all costs. Then you can always buy second-hand saxophones, but if you don't know what you're buying, then you should definitely get your teacher or somebody who knows about saxophones to come and buy one, to come and check it over and make sure that everything's okay, because you could buy a really cheap second-hand saxophone, but if it needs a lot of work doing to it, then that's going to be really expensive and the saxophone won't end up being cheap at all. So buying one second-hand, if you don't know what you're looking at, is an absolute minefield, and you really want to be very, very careful. Again, if I have a client who wants to buy a second-hand instrument, then usually I will find them something on eBay, which I think is a good choice, and I'll go with them if it's not too far away, and I'll go and have a look at the saxophone and make sure that everything's okay with it. I've made a whole video about the second-hand checklist, what you should ask, so you can go and have a look at that if you're interested in buying second-hand saxophones. If you've got a little bit more money, then I think it'd be really good to buy a Yanagisawa or a Yamaha saxophone from a music shop. Then if you did buy one of these second hand, then I think usually people look after quite expensive saxophones, and if you ask the right questions, like how long have you owned it, when was it last serviced, then that could be a really good option as well. But really the things to stay away from are second hand shops that are selling a saxophone. Buying super cheap saxophones from Amazon I think is a bad idea, and buying second hand ones, just don't do it, and really buy from somewhere where they are able to, if anything does happen or go wrong, then you can take it back to that person and you've got some kind of guarantee or warranty with it. We sell saxophones, or I sell saxophones, and there is a story about this on one of my channels, but the bottom line is I used to buy second-hand saxophones from eBay, and I'd take them to my repairman and get them fixed up, and then I would have them here for sale in case I had a client who came around and got very enthusiastic about playing. And I did that for many years. I had 2 or 3 saxophones which were second-hand, not very expensive. Then I had a gig in Hong Kong, and that made me think about buying from the Far East, and I got through about 2 or 3 manufacturers, and I found an absolutely fantastic manufacturer. Clearly they make saxophones for other people as well, and I got them to make me a saxophone that I could put my own brand on, and I had some say in what the saxophone was like, and I wanted them to model it on a Selmer saxophone because I really love Selmer saxophones, and they've come up with these beautiful Goldington saxophones which I sell. So when somebody buys one of these off me, especially when they buy one if they're in the UK, then they get a no quibble guarantee. We want to give the best customer service. If anything goes wrong with the saxophone, then they return it to us and we fix it. We sort it out for them, no questions asked. And that guarantee is good for 6 months. And really, if we did have it, if anything went wrong with the saxophone, we would look after them for longer than that as well. These are really, really good saxophones, and they're very beautiful. What's lovely about them, what we've done which is special, is we've had them heavily engraved, and they have beautiful pearl keys on them, which you can see if I hold it next to the camera. You can see these beautiful keys, and you can see the beautiful engraving on the side of the instrument. They play really, really nicely. And they come in lots of different finishes. So this, as you can see, is a silver saxophone, that's silver plated. This one is our antique model. So this is made to look like a slightly older, de-lacquered saxophone. They all have the same engraving, and these are really, really nice. We have a vintage coffee one. Now these are super special because they're very dark. As you can see, they start off very dark, but as you start to use them, then they lighten up and they end up looking like a really old vintage saxophone very quickly, like within the first few months. And all of my saxophones have engraving on the bell, and also I hope this is in focus, on the crook. You can see the engraving here. It's really, really, really nice. Yeah, so they're very beautiful. And we also have silver and gold, and this is particularly gorgeous. These are all on my website, saxonhoney.com. But again, look at that beautiful. These have engraved pad cups, which is really unusual, and pearl keys. And the engraving around the bell edge and the engraving up here, absolutely stunning instruments. They come in a very good case, which I will show you. Whoa! It's a really, really nice case. It looks very much like a Yanagisawa case. And they're fantastic quality. They're really, really good. The prices on these instruments are £595 for the antique and coffee one, and the silver and gold ones are £650. We do ship all over the world, and we've successfully shipped to America and Denmark and Norway, as well as the UK as well. We prefer it if you come to our music studio here and pick one up yourself and play test it and make sure that you're happy, because putting a saxophone in the post is a little bit of a worry. We play test everything before we ship it out, and we have all of these finishes except for the coffee. I haven't got any coffee ones in tenor, but we have silver and gold, silver tenors, antique tenors. Don't have a huge amount of stock, where I'm not a big business, I'm just a small businessman, but we love our Goldington saxophones. We think they're very, very, very beautiful. So and we don't rent them overseas, but we rent them. If you're in the UK, you can rent one off us as well. So you don't have to buy a saxophone from us. You can go and buy one from somewhere else. If you want some advice about buying a saxophone, then I don't mind answering questions. And actually, if you if you want my honest opinion, Yanagisawa are the most fantastic saxophones, because second hand, they're usually really, really well looked after. Brand new, they're every bit as good, in my opinion, as a Selmer saxophone, or I think they're the best saxophones in the world. Yanagisawas, I absolutely love them. Of course, Selmer saxophones are wonderful as well, but they're considerably more expensive, and I don't think there's that much difference between Selmer and Yanagisawa in the playability and the quality of the sound. In fact, these saxophones, which cost a fraction of the price, sound really, really lovely when you compare them to a Selmer saxophone, which is so much more expensive. The difference is, with these cheaper saxophones, you would probably need to get them checked and adjusted once a year. With a Selmer saxophone, you'd probably need to get it checked and adjusted once every couple of years. However, I get my saxophones checked, all of the saxophones that I play at gigs, I get them checked once a year anyway. But these will need more attention than a Selmer saxophone, and clearly they're not handmade like the Selmer saxophones are. And I would imagine that in Yanagisawa and Selmer saxophones, the materials are the finest materials that you can possibly find, where in these saxophones they're probably very, very good materials, but not as good as a Selmer or Yanagisawa. And that's not to put them down, I think they're fantastic. I'm just trying to be honest and realistic. So be careful getting a saxophone. Don't get the cheapest. If you've got any doubts at all, then message me. I'm not hard to find, and I'll be more than happy to help you. I hope that's been useful. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you for everybody that is supporting me. I'm absolutely blown away. It's just completely amazing, this whole YouTube journey, and I'm really enthused to carry on making content, and I'd love your feedback about things that you'd like me to make content about. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.